Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 of the Cosmic Force. It is our first episode since the successful Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, and we're going to cover all of the comics news, kind of cover our highlights, maybe kind of see some of the swag that we picked up, and we have a special host tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it and start what we always do with Emma. Emma, this was your first celebration, correct?
This was my first celebration. Yeah, it was crazy. I feel like I'm still recovering a little bit. Yesterday I slept until 4 o'clock. Today I slept until 1 o'clock. So hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit better. But yeah, definitely, exhausting, but so worth it at the same time. Like I just I can't even describe how happy I am and how much fun I had and how awesome everybody was in person. And I can't wait to talk about it more in depth.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would have made it better is if our next host was there with us as well. Caleb, I know you were holding down the fort at home for us. So was it as much fun to kind of live vicariously through us?
No. No, I still had a good time. There's a local con here in Atlanta I went to for a day, so I managed to distract myself from all the fun you were having for a bit. We had a minor coup. All the people who weren't going to Celebration gave ourselves new titles. So no, it was good. Like, there was a lot of fun news that came out, so I was still watching it, catching up with some of the live streams. I wasn't glued to my television, but there's still a lot of really good stuff. So I'm excited to talk about this, hear from you guys what your favorite stories are, what your favorite panels were. And we'll get into it a little bit.
Absolutely will. And we will get into it with our next host, who's making his Youtini podcast network debut. Steven, welcome to your first ever live show. No pressure here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Hello. Hi.
So glad to have
So,
you. So, Steven, tell
yes.
the people what you do for Youtini.
I pretend to know marketing things.
Oh,
no,
stop
I'm
it.
I'm
He's the best
Youtini's
marketer.
I'm Youtini's CMO, so I oversee email, social media, all other sort of marketing shenanigans, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've been with the team since I guess about November. So yeah, and celebration was amazing too.
Yes, yeah, we got Steven and I actually got to share a drink at Oga's together, which was so much fun.
We did. What did you get again?
Oh man, I couldn't pick. I couldn't figure out what I liked first because listeners, I'm only like 3 months into being 21. So I got the outer rim, and then my dad got the yub nub, and then we like switched off because I was like, ooh, that tastes too much like tequila for me. So I think I went with the yub nub afterwards, which had like I think it had like the pineapple rum in it. It was very good.
Yeah, the Yub Nub's a great choice. You can you can either get the regular Yub Nub or you can get the collectible one, which comes with this really tall indoor mug.
Thank God
which
I
is
didn't
pretty
know about
sweet.
that.
I do have that. So
Thank goodness you didn't tell me about that. That would have been bad.
Fortunately for our audience, the mixology, Youtini mixology class is actually coming on live after this show.
Oh.
But until then, if you are joining us live for the first time, which I hope you are, because we met so many amazing people at Celebration, welcome. We do normally talk about comics. This week we're going to talk about more news about the comics, but we are a Star Wars comics podcast that broadcasts live right here on youtube.com/Youtini every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. But if you can't join us live, that is quite okay, because we are also available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Like I said, we are part of the Youtini podcast network of shows and a Discord channel at youtini.com/Discord with more. It says more than 1,000 members, but I think we're up to like 1,200 or 1,300 members now. It's ridiculous. With dozens of channels to choose from, a very popular channel that is getting lots of attention right now is the Kenobi channel, because, oh, by the way, in addition, happy Kenobi Day, everybody. We totally forgot to mention that. Yeah, if you thought the first 2 episodes were great, wow. Today's episode was that was something.
Yes, and by the way, spoiler free in the chat, by the way, because Steven hasn't seen it yet. So
yes,
I'm watching it right after we do this.
It was good. Obi-Wan was in it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, these are all true facts.
And if you like what you see and you want to say thanks, then head on over to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Youtini, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire Youtini podcast network of shows, as well as exclusive merch and community involvement activities. So, like I said, we are right after Celebration, so all of today's show is going to be kind of a recap of that. As Justin put in the chat, the team did a great job of live tweeting, and I do want to give a round of applause to all of us that we're doing our best on social media to get all of you informed, to keep Caleb informed of all the things that were happening. But before we get into that, we do actually have some comics this week. So, Emma, is this something that you've got, or do you? I know you were messing with some pictures ahead of time. Bounty Hunters number 23, subtitled "A Clear and Present Dengar." I see what you did there. Written by Ethan Sachs, pencils by Paolo Villanelli. The A cover is by Giuseppe Camuncoli. The colorist is Arif Prianto, and the letterer is Travis Lanham. And then in addition to this, we have a Darth Vader number 23, which I have not read this one yet. However, I see a lot of discussion about this in our Discord. This subtitle is "The Shadow's Shadow," written by none other than Greg Pak, pencils by Rafael Ianco. The A cover is by Paul Renaud. The colorist is by Carlos Lopez, and the letterer is by Joe Caramanga. And as usual, Emma has done an amazing job and made sure that all the links are down below to ensure that if you haven't picked these up, that you can get them right now. So
they will be there. They are not there.
They will be there.
They will be there. We've had so many technical difficulties you wouldn't even believe. I don't think that the laptop wanted to come back from Celebration either, so I had to struggle with that. But they will be there. I will add
convention
them.
Convention hangover. Caleb, I'm sure you can attest to this. Convention hangover is real.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Like conventions are such a huge energy drain without realizing it's like a vampire that's just like sucks out all your blood and all your
I
your
love that.
juice, right?
The energy vampire.
Exactly.
That is a great descriptor.
All right, let's go ahead and get into what we're loving this week. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. We're going to kind of do our best to graciously share some of the swag that we were able to pick up. Stephen or Emma, do you guys? I have a few things here that I have, but I would graciously turn it over to one of you two if you want to. If either one of you want to go first.
I'm okay with you going first, actually.
Okay. Well, there are a couple things. One, shout out to Andrew, who created everybody on staff these amazing laser engraved name tags that did a great thing. Was a great help when we were talking to people at the booth. And Caleb, just because you were not there does not mean you're not going to get one. Andrew's already talked about how he is working on getting one to the rest of the team.
Really?
So you will not be left out of that one. But in addition to that, this is kind of my pride and joy. In addition to that, he created this nice little wood laser engraved template with not one,
very nice.
not two, not three, not four, not five, but five. Yeah, five different. I got LeBron in my head and kept going with number of championships. I'm not winning. But yeah, all of the High Republic authors are listed on here. It was awesome meeting them. They were so cool. I wish I could hang out with them. They seem like they have such a great time. And my last piece of art, I told when I showed this to Corey, I said, Corey, I picked this up strictly for the show. Wasn't as much as I enjoyed it, it was for the show, it was for the backdrop. And he said, I have taught you well.
It's tax deductible.
And then, yeah, if only. And that is these oversized,
this is awesome,
of Darth Vader #1 and Star Wars #1.
Wow.
With the artist's signature. I believe I want to look that up in just a second. But these, you will be able to see these in my background in future shows. But yeah, so those were the highlights of my convention swag. That was, like I said, lots of fun stuff, lots of free stuff. But these were the things that I really enjoyed, and I picked up for you, the viewers, to be able to put up behind me, and add to the ambiance.
That's so kind of you, Tyler.
Sweet.
So, all right, Emma, I'm going to toss it over to you.
All right.
What swag do you have?
All right, because I'm producing, I need all my hands, so I actually just took a big haul picture that I'll show everybody. Okay, I hit the button. It's not okay. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I kind of got some more stuff than I wanted to.
Emma, would you care to explain what's in the top left-hand corner there?
Are you talking about the box of cereal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, fun story for everybody. If you didn't hear, people that were let into the celebration stage for the Lucasfilm showcase panel were invited back to the world premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi to watch the first 2 episodes with the cast and crew the very same night. And I happened to be one of those fortunate people. And Timothy and I were sitting together, and you'll kind of hear this a lot, but I was in a wheelchair, so I had to be in the ADA section, which was on the floor, and they were doing a lot of giveaways on the floor. 2 of those things happened to be in this picture here. One of them is a special edition Frosted Flakes box. One side's got, what is that, like Tony the Tiger or something like that. It's got him as Obi-Wan, and then the other side has him as Darth Vader. This box of cereal is going to be going on sale in stores like this month, I believe, so it's not going to be super valuable. However, the Pringles can, directly to the right of it, is going to be extremely valuable. That is, you can only get it at the world premiere of Obi-Wan, if you just happen to be one of the people that they, handed it to, which is absolutely insane. Basically, it was kind of like this thing, you kind of had to, dance, get hyped, and then they would give you one. I was literally just, sitting there looking at my phone, and all of a sudden, somebody just hands me a Pringles can. And
so now we get to answer the age-old question: what age is better, wine or Pringles?
Listen, Listen, I am not opening those Pringles ever. They will lose their value. Also, like I kind of like shook
They
the
go
can a
stale
little
so
bit. They
quick.
sound like they are complete like dust in there, just from my travels and all that. Um, yeah, no, you couldn't pay me to eat those after like a few years. I think that'd be disgusting.
I don't know. I've heard one should pop. Well,
We'll
You
ship
don't
it over
stop
to
it.
Charles and let him open
Yes.
it at some
he
point.
would
Since
do that.
I mean, he's open. He's eaten 30-year-old gum on air before, so anything for the viewers,
Anything for the viewers. Everything has a price, So yeah, those are like the two free things out of all of these items. Everything else I paid for. So in the top, I got. We went to Disneyland the day before. A bunch of us did, and I got the lightsaber that I have been looking for so long. And the first time I went to the Galaxy's Edge, when Galaxy's Edge was open, was in January, and that was like at the height of all of the supply chain issues, and they didn't have any legacy lightsabers to be sold. They only had Jedi holocron. They didn't have any Sith holocrons. It was just bare in there, and so I was really excited to do some hardcore shopping in Galaxy's Edge, and I certainly did that. So I got the Skywalker Legacy Saber. I had to get it. It's the one I have tattooed on my body, so I had to do it. And then I also got the Ahsoka Tano Legacy Sabers, which are just gorgeous, and they changed colors from blue to green and vice versa, which is absolutely amazing. And then of course the Sith holocron. So I have now both of the holocrons. And then there's the convention exclusive cover of Stories of Jedi and Sith. And that cover is drawn by Jake Bartok, who a lot of you probably have heard of him, seen his art from Twitter. Speaking of Jake Bartok, this is not in the picture, and I did not bring it with me. It's a little big, but I bought an art print for from Jake Bartok for the 5 High Republic authors to sign. It's got all of the Jedi on there, and we were waiting in line, and Eric's like, "Yo, Emma, 3 people behind us. That's Jake Bartok," and I'm like, "No way!" So I showed him the print that I was gonna get signed, and he was so happy, and it was great to meet him. And so after I got it signed by all 5 of the authors, I was like, "Hey, I need one more signature on this thing." And so he was gracious enough to sign it for me. So that was great. Speaking of those signatures, yes, I caved and I got the box set of High Republic books, the overpriced one. But I got it signed,
nice.
so it's worth more now. I'm not super shocked that I caved, although I gave very specific instructions to Tim.
Hashtag enablers.
Yes, exactly. I gave him very specific instructions not to let me buy it, but I literally told him, I said, "I feel like I'm gonna regret this." He said, "You are," and then happened to go to the checkout line. It's weird how that happened.
It goes in your hands, and
Exactly.
and so is your card.
Exactly. I didn't have it in my hands for me at first, believe it or not. Like I knew that there's a couple people still looking for them. We checked and they were able to get them, and then I was like, well, I kind of need this for myself then. So that's kind of how that happened. To the left of that, I got the con exclusive Bo-Katan and Darksaber ornaments because of course I had to. And at the same booth, there was a Thrawn itty bitty, and it's kind of packaged in a way that it looks like he's in a Star Destroyer. It was too cute not to get. And then another con exclusive was the Princess Leia Funko Pop. And then I'm gonna skip those other 2 Funko Pops for a quick second. I got some magnets too. I love collecting magnets from like places that I've been. So I got the 20th anniversary, the key arts, and then just logo. And then of course the shirt that I'm wearing tonight. And a special program to remember it by. So going back to those 2 Funkos, probably like, oh, what is that like smudge on the front there? I actually got them signed. I got an Ahsoka Pop signed by Ashley Eckstein. Guys, she was so nice.
Ooh.
I'm not even kidding.
Oh wow.
She was so very kind. I told her that I was 7 when the Clone Wars came out, and I feel like I've grown up with Ahsoka, and told her how much Ahsoka means to me, and she was just so very kind and loved hearing that story. And you can tell that like this job means the actual world to her, and it was a pleasure to meet her. And her signature is also really cool, by the way.
It's also in orange, which is also really cool. Does she have like
Yes.
orange pins specifically, I guess?
She did. Yeah, she kind of had like a pile of a bunch of different pens, and of course I picked orange. And actually, if you like matching colors, you'll like this next one. I also met Katie Sackhoff and I got her signature in blue because, of course.
Oh wow.
Nice.
And she was also very kind, and yeah, just an absolute pleasure to meet. And another person that you can tell like really loves their job. So I was just like super excited to meet these two women. And then I guess I actually have one more thing. I don't know if this counts as like a haul, but it counts as like something I bought, I guess. I did one meet and greet, which I was really excited to do. I think I've said a ton before that like the sequel trilogy is my favorite trilogy, and so of course I had to meet someone from my favorite trilogy, and it just so happened that one of the characters that I love from the trilogy was there. And Kelly Marie Tran was there, so I met her. She was an absolute pleasure to meet. Very kind, and you know, just you could tell that she could talk to the fans for forever, but you know, they kind of like rush you through because you know they've only got like so much time and stuff like that. But you could tell that she could talk to people for forever. So that was a lot of fun as well, and I just had an absolute blast with all of these things. And you know, these are some of the more like unique souvenirs that you can get, I guess. You know, getting something from your collection signed or meeting an actor or actress that you love. So I was very pleased to do that.
Wow, that is quite the haul. I am very proud
I
of
did
you
not
for
mean to
being
spend
able
that much money,
for,
y'all.
for grabbing
Sorry.
all of that. No, good for you. I as a fellow enabler approve.
Good.
So,
I'm glad.
all right, Steven, were you able to grab anything while you were at Celebration?
I have none of it around me right now, except I have one of them on me. I got this shirt. There was a Heroes and Villains booth that was
Ooh.
there, and they had a whole series of these. This was probably my favorite one that I got. And
Very
so
nice.
that's the only thing that I have near me. The other thing is my wife also got the Ahsoka sabers from she got them from Doc Ondar as well. No, she got them from the trading, what's it called? The Star Wars trading booth
Oh
or whatever
yeah,
it's
the
called?
place in downtown Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So she
nice.
picked up those while we were there, but I don't have any of the other merch or anything I grabbed around me right now. But one thing I will say is you brought up Kelly Marie Tran. It's so funny seeing she's now a celebrity and has become pretty popular. But I actually knew and have met Kelly Marie Tran. I produced a short film back in 2014 that she was in, and it was I didn't really think much of it, and then I saw her in The Last Jedi, and I'm like, wait, I know
That's
you.
awesome.
I know who you
No
are.
way. How have I not known this
Yeah.
before, dude?
I guess I've never brought it up before, but yeah, she's super nice.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing that. Yeah, she's like one of the most down to earth people that I've met. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
She
And
looked like
Yeah.
she was having a great time.
Yeah.
When she was on the Celebration live stage. That's where I
yes,
remember
yeah, she was
seeing
with
her. So,
Billy Lord, and I guess they
really
formed like a
happy.
really close friendship. Yeah.
Really happy to see Ahmad Best come back in Chicago and have a good time. Really happy to see Billy Lord and Kelly Marie Tran having a good time. And shout out to Moses Ingram, who was having a great time at Celebration. And I really hope that that we, the positive fans of that we are in the community, can continue to show our support for her. And the amazing character that she plays in Kenobi, because she doesn't deserve the garbage that is being sent her way. So we here at the Cosmic Force and at Youtini support, give our support to Moses Ingram, because you're awesome and your character is awesome. And we hope that we can drown out the noise that the other people have unfortunately sent your way. So
that's very
can't
well
wait
put.
to see.
She's another person that I think just absolutely loves her job. I watched a video of her opening her action figures for the first time, and
I love that video.
Oh, I know, it's so good. She was just having a blast. She has shown like the Star Wars fans like the utmost respect, and we only deserve to give her at least that in return. So it's very disappointing to see the negative fans being so loud, but I know that us, the positive fans, can be louder. So that gives me hope. Oh, and really quickly, I just see here in the chat, we have a $5 super chat from Bert. They say, thanks for the bookmarks that you gave me after the Celebration Marvel panel. Also, thanks for the Celebration preparation tips and tricks video as well. Thank you, Bert. I remember meeting you, Tyler.
Yes,
you remember that?
Yes,
it
I
felt
do.
so awesome
Yeah,
to be recognized, I gotta say.
that was a lot
really
of fun.
appreciate that.
thanks for talking to us at the panel, Bert, and then thanks for joining us here live. We really appreciate your support. So
that's gotta be like a weird, like surreal feeling, like walking across and like, hey, I know you from your YouTube videos. Like,
it happened multiple times, and each time it didn't stop getting cool. Like it felt very awesome. Like, oh my god, like you've seen me on like YouTube. That's crazy.
Now hold on. Now that is awesome. Now before we get too far, I have some swag I need to show off as well.
Okay.
So I said,
you have
like I went to the local MomoCon, which is normally a predominantly it's a anime fest. So there's a lot of crowd participation. Like half the people were dressed up. But my wife, being a crafty person, convinced me to go to a $5 make your chainmail sort of introduction. So I made a nice little chainmail keychain here
that's cool.
with the Mythosaur logo there. So for $5 in about an hour's worth of my time, I think that turned out pretty well.
That's awesome.
I didn't want to be left out, so I got some swag here as well.
Very cool.
Well, yours is the best swag because yours is a handmade swag. So yes, I am very glad that we ended this segment on that. So awesome stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, they had a bunch of like little charms that you could add on to the end, like a dragon scales of different colors, a few other things like the Avengers logo. I'm like, ooh, I want the Mythosaur skull, and she's like, the what? I want the Star Wars one. Like, oh, the bounty hunter. Yeah, got it.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
All right, let us take a very short break, and then we are going to get into a full recap of Youtini's first celebration, as well as a quick highlight of all the comics news that came out of the celebration. So we will be right back.
It's the best back cover since Star Wars Episode 1 hardcover novelization, the one with young Anakin, because on the back, just to remind y'all, is a full headshot of Watto.
It's so big.
I think I brought this up on one of the earliest episodes of the Living Force ever, and I thought I'd bring it back.
Oh my god, yeah.
Series and all of Legends. What do you guys think? Could it be the X-Wing series? Might just be the most romance-intensive series ever. And we're not just talking about the scene where Corran Horn describes his love affair with an otter. I mean, a Salonian that he hooked up with her and then he broke out in chives.
Yeah, not chives.
Not chives. What's it called? The bumps?
Hives, dude. Hives.
Chives go on your potato.
I'm hearing you say the same thing.
Chives, what you put on the under potato. No C. Hives.
Hives.
Not chives.
What did I say?
Chives.
It's not a very common story to approach. Yeah, again, drawing the complex family tree of Django to clone identical son to clone all identical millions of sons, but they're a generation older. So then the son is kind of all Django's equal, but then Boba is a generation younger, but then that clone's son is Boba's age, but then is Boba his dad or his nephew or his uncle or his cousin? It's like
All right. So as we said last week, this was Youtini's first ever celebration since we kind of became the team that we are. And in addition to all of the news that came out of it, which we'll get to that in just a minute, we had a pretty successful, I think everybody on the team said that it was a pretty successful celebration. And most importantly, Emma, it's because we got to meet everybody.
It's true. Yeah. Oh man, so I had only met Jared before in person, because he was taking a vacation in my area, and we met up at a comic shop and kind of hung out for a little bit. But other than that, I hadn't met anybody, and it was very cool. I have to say, I know I am a little bit biased, but I was excited to meet Tyler the most. Obviously, we spend every week together.
I mean, obviously,
mm-hmm. Right? And so we did, of course, have to take that obligatory, host meeting for the first time. photo, and yeah, we had a great time. This was at our celebration, which we'll talk about a little later. But yeah, I mean, getting to meet everybody was so amazing, and I also got to spend a lot of time with Corey and Kate, his wife Kate. We went to Disneyland the day before, and of course had to do like the whole Galaxy's Edge thing, which was a lot of fun. So here's us in front of the Falcon. We had a great time. We also, of course, if you've ever been to Galaxy's Edge, you know that there's like a lot of just like random Star Wars stuff, like just out in the space there. And Corey and I had to do it. The classic vaporator picture.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, we couldn't leave without doing it. So it was great to spend some time with him and everybody at the party. Met some really cool people like outside of Youtini as well. Laura Kelly from Force Toast came to Celebration.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun to chat with her. I was so busy, like we were so busy chatting, I totally forgot to ask her for a picture. But
you and I showed some support for Pink Milk, and
Yes.
I got to meet Brian face to face
Yes,
and
me as
say hi
well,
to
yeah.
him. That was an awesome time.
Yes. And I actually
Steven, what
met-
about you?
I met
Oh, go ahead.
Maggie Lovett. She's a big person on Star Wars Twitter. It was actually kind of funny. So Tim and I, we were watching the Bad Batch panel in the press section, and when everybody got up and was leaving, all of a sudden I saw this person. I was like, whoa, she looks like really familiar. And I could tell that she thought that I looked familiar too, but we were wearing masks, so it was a little difficult. And finally I was just like, are you Maggie? And she's like, yeah, I saw the Youtini thing on your lanyard. I thought that was you. And so that was just, it was funny. Like, it was awesome just being able to know, like, there's people around here that I've like interacted with a bunch on like social media, and fans of like our YouTube videos and stuff on Discord. Like, you just never knew who you're gonna run across, and it was really fun.
Yeah, Steven, what were some of your thoughts and feelings about being able to be part of this first ever meetup for the Youtini team?
So the first person that I ran into was on Wednesday. It was in Disneyland, and it was Corey, and Emma was shortly after that. But we
sorry,
were waiting.
Did you say Corey and short in the same sentence?
Hey, okay.
I feel like we need to clarify this for our audience.
I have to come to Corey's defense here, because Corey is as tall as I am, and I am not short. Thank you very much.
I'm not a tall person. Corey's like the same height as me. He might even be taller than I am.
So I get that it's a bit, but now the bit makes me short, so now I don't like the bit anymore. So
But yeah, I ran into him we all kind of met up at the entrance for Disneyland, kind of right there in on Main Street. And Corey walked up and kind of pointed his finger right my way. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Corey in person, which is really cool to meet everybody. And meeting everybody at Oga's Cantina and just grabbing a drink, really fun. Like, that was such a good time. In terms of other people I ran into, though, we were in Galaxy's Edge. I think we kind of separated from Youtini peeps. It was just me and my wife kind of meandering. And I saw Alex and Molly from Star Wars Explained. I looked across the way and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Alex and Molly. And I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to be a creep. And so that's how I addressed it. Was I walked up to them and I'm like, hey, I don't want to be weird, but I'm a big fan. And that's it. And then I
bet they get that a lot.
Yeah. What's funny is like, whenever the High Republic was first announced and all the High Republic authors were in Galaxy's Edge, my wife and I were there when all of the High Republic authors were there. And so I walked up to Claudia Gray, and it's basically the same thing that I said. I was like, hey, I don't want to be weird, but I'm a very big fan. And I've met like celebrities and stuff before, and I don't get Twitter pated, but in front of Claudia Gray, this author that most people outside of Star Wars wouldn't even know, but meeting her in person, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Claudia Gray.
I know, she has this like magical aura about her. I mean, a bunch of us went to the High Republic signing with all 5 of the authors, and it was insane to see them. I didn't think I would get that flustered. I mean, Jacob and I and Eric as well, we had interviewed DJO a while back, and so I had kind of met him before, and I thought it was just going to be like chill, but then you're like face to face with them, just like across the table, and it's like, God, these are all the people that have written like all of my favorite stories, and you kind of have this like fangirl moment a little bit, and it's like,
Oh, I fangirled hard.
yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. And I think that probably makes him happy too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Claudia Gray gets recognized super frequently out in the wild, you know?
Oh yeah, it's not like if Mark Hamill walked into Galaxy's
Right.
Edge, everyone would lose their mind. But like most book authors, I don't think get recognized as much. And so on one hand, it's like I didn't want to bother them and like ruin their day like by someone freaking out. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't think that happens really that often anyway.
So before we get too far, like Stephen, are there any other like secret Star Wars meetups in your past that you need to tell us about? Or are you
That is a
holding
good
on to those
question.
for the future? Like you have so many of these, like, oh yeah, I worked with Miss Tran on a whole movie beforehand.
Well, Harrison Ford and I are really tight. We're real good buddies.
Flew in a
You go
plane with
mountain
him
biking.
before.
Go mountain biking together.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's actually how he broke his arm last time. Was him and I were mountain biking together.
Oh, good.
Well, the only Star Wars celebrity story that I have that can one up that is that we have our very own Star Wars celebrity here on the team, because Emma was part of our first ever panel. And I don't know about you, Emma, but I thought it was a bigger success than that. Not that we had low expectations, but that was a huge success. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about it? I'll let you have the honors of sharing that moment.
Thank you. Yeah. I too thought it was a much bigger success than I expected. There was I would guess. What do you think, Tyler? Like 100, if anything over that, people in the room. Something
easy.
around there.
By the time you guys got finished, I would say between 100 and 120 people were in the room.
Yeah, it was shocking how many people there are, and I've got a few pictures from the panel that I'll put up here. So, like I said before, it was me and Eric and Corey and Freddie, and it was it was seriously the coolest thing I've ever done. We're actually we've got some footage from the panel, and I'm gonna kind of put that together sometime soon here. Hopefully, by the time we're speaking next week, it'll be up on our YouTube, as long as everything goes okay.
I was about to ask if I could watch it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna work on that. The audio isn't like what you're used to with our podcast, obviously, because you're picking up like room audio that's coming from the microphones. But we definitely do have it. And yeah, it was a big success, and we didn't go overtime, we didn't go super under time. I was super worried about that personally. I was very nervous before. I'm not even gonna lie. I was a little sweaty and just super nervous. Tyler and I, before, we were waiting in line to get our book our ornaments from the Hallmark booth, and we thought we were gonna be late, and we're like, you know what, never mind, we gotta run. And meanwhile, I'm all dressed up, I've got like heels on. I never wear heels, but this is like a special occasion, so I'm like running across the stage. I'm like, hey, I'm here. And it was an absolute blast, and I can't wait to put it up on YouTube for everybody to hear. I think a bunch of people like from our team actually came up to me and said like, I'm super interested in these comics after you talked about them. And I'm like, music to my ears. Like, I think even like Kate told me, she's like, Eyes of Kylo Ren sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to read that. And I said, yes, you should. So we had an absolute blast, and everybody was so supportive the day of, like, making sure that we felt, comfortable, and, everybody was so nice, giving us compliments afterwards. And Jared in the chat, he said 126 people at the panel. It sounds like you counted, Jared. That's amazing.
Coming from Jared, I believe he did count.
Yeah, that's way more people than I expected, and I couldn't be happier or more proud of what we did.
Now, but then again, Jared is also works in the ministry, so sometimes they do like to inflate numbers of people who come every.
Oh man.
Anyway, we also had even more traffic than that came to our booth. Right. I don't think throughout the weekend, I don't think we went more than, other than the first 15 minutes of the day, like when the doors, when the ropes first dropped and everybody was rushing to get in line for the Mando panel or get in line for, I don't think we went more than 5 minutes without, there's a good look at the booth right now. I don't think we went more than 5 minutes without having somebody come up and talk to us, including some well-known characters. Emma, who did we did you get it? I don't think you had a chance to interview this first guest, right? I think it was Corey and Jared were able to grab him.
That's correct. Yes, and I don't have a picture handy, but that's okay because I'm putting together or I'm going to start working on putting together like a vlog of our time. So that'll just be a little tease for you. But we did get to interview the Mark Thompson, which was absolutely insane. He came up, he was dressed in like full Jedi robes, like full on cosplay. It was amazing. And he was very kind. I don't know how this even happened. I don't know if somebody like asked him to come or if he just like saw us, because the Living Forces interviewed him like times, I think. And he was very gracious with his time. We were all starstruck. It was amazing.
Yes, and then I apologize if I mispronounce this, but Amy Rishu,
I believe it's Rickow.
Amy Rickow, who's actually working on the Timelines book that is being published by Del Rey, actually came and visited the booth and met our own Timelines expert Trevor, and even told him that in the research that she was doing for the book that is being published by Del Rey, she used Youtini timeline for certain parts of her research. So big shout out to all of that. Trevor was over the moon when he heard that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was a big
cool.
deal for Trevor to be able to have her come and offer the praise for the timeline, one of the two timeline experts that we have. So that was lots of fun too.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Trev at the like nonfiction panel that they did, and when they were talking about like the timeline book and they were showing some spreads from it, I thought he was gonna pass out. Like the man was so happy. It was so great to see.
Steven, did you happen to have any just random conversations about Youtini in your time there?
Well, the best, going back to Jared and Corey interviewing Mark Thompson, I was there when it happened, and I've never seen, my wife and I were talking about this today, actually. Mark Thompson walks up, everyone, it's so funny because, again, going back to what we were saying with the High Republic authors, outside of Star Wars, I don't think most people would recognize who Mark Thompson is. But for all of us, everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Mark Thompson!" Like,
he's the voice of everyone in my head.
Yeah. And so we saw him walking up. He came up to our booth. Corey and Jared interviewed him, and afterward, I don't know if I've ever seen another human being exhibit such joy and excitement the way Jared did. It was so loud. He was so happy. I'll remember that moment for the rest of my life. My wife was like, I've never seen someone get so giddy about an audiobook author or a voice character. So
yeah. Oh man. I mean, Jared was on fire at the celebration. I'll let him tell you, like, in his own words, what occurred. He was on fire.
He had a number of amazing experiences, and yeah, I do not want to spoil that. So make sure you turn into Legends Look Back tomorrow night at 9:30 to hear all about his escapades. Because as he says in the chat, he's grinning ear to ear right now. So
we love you, Jared. You're awesome, man.
Jared had a great time, and we all the team had a good time at our celebration event, which happened Saturday night. We had, in addition to the team, we had a good 50 plus people that, of all of you decided to come out and join us. There were some people from the Discord. I met a couple people that, are common regular inputters on and people who talk in the Discord. I met people that I just happened to, they walked up to the booth and said hi, and they saw our sign. I even met somebody that I believe I butted into his conversation about comics and said, oh, by the way,
I'm the expert.
Comics, here's a bookmark, and oh, by the way, this bookmark says about the show that I host, and oh, by the way, we have a party tonight that you should come to. And that was a great time. With this, we have this, Emma's got this photo up of the crew there. The area was great. The people were great, and we actually like got kicked out, not because we were being too rowdy, but like
Right.
they were closing. They wanted to close, and we were like, no, we just want to keep talking Star Wars nerd books. So don't let us don't make us leave.
Yeah. This picture right here, just, I mean, I love every single one of these people so much, man. Like, I can't even describe it. Like, everybody was way nicer than I thought that everybody was gonna be, which I already thought you guys were nice, right? But like, for some reason, everybody was just so bubbly and kind and just really awesome in real life. And it was seriously great to meet everybody. And even, you know, I have to point out too, like, a lot of people brought like their spouses or their significant others, and even they were so cool as well. Like, I had a great time hanging out with Sally, you know, Stephen, your wife, and Charlie, you know, Eric's partner, and obviously Kate, and it was just, and Timothy's wife. We met a little bit too, Hannah, and man, everybody was just so nice and kind, and I'm glad to say that, like, I feel like not only were friendships formed this weekend, but I think that they were like strengthened as well. It was awesome. I can't rave enough about it.
I do want to point out, Tyler, thank you for channeling the inner me and wearing the loud, obnoxious shirt while everyone else was in the just normal t-shirts. I noticed and I appreciate it.
I got so many comments and compliments for wearing that shirt on the show floor. It was, yes, I had to represent the loud shirts for the show. So yeah,
I have a funny story about that.
welcome.
Like, earlier in the day, like, Tyler was gonna take me up to the panel, and you know, he was like pushing me in the chair, and I was like, okay, Freddie, let's go. And I like didn't mean it. I like did not mean it at all. But I was like, oh wait, that's Freddie. He's like wearing a loud shirt and stuff. Nope, it was Tyler.
Like when we went to the ArtCon, like, you know, my wife made this shirt, so she also has a matching one of these. So we were in matching con
made
shirts.
That?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah,
she's
like,
she's made so
like
many of his
she's made
outfits.
my Lando cape, my my Jedi robe, both Jared and Rick's Jedi robe as well. So no, she's a real crafty person.
That's amazing. I can barely do an iron-on patch.
Like, okay, like in the time it took me to make this much chainmail, she had like doubled that, like 50% more than that in like just the same amount of time. She's like, oh yeah, I've done this like once before.
Incredible. That's
she
so
is.
Cool.
But anyway, we had matching con shirts, and we got, despite all the people walking around in like, you know, hours plus like makeup and things, we still got a few random compliments. It was really nice, like when you go to a con and you feel those compliments. So yeah, that's great.
Well, the celebration wasn't all fun and games. I mean, it was lots of fun and games, but at least for an hour out of the 4-day weekend, Emma and I actually did some like journalistic news work stuff. So the Marvel panel was Saturday afternoon, and we got a lot of amazing information from all the writers that are involved in some comic or some form of comic or another. So let us go ahead and quickly run down some of the highlights that we got from this panel. Caleb, I'm going to let you take these first two to start us off,
because you guys are getting tired of talking all the time. Absolutely.
Partially true.
So we have the big news is we have the new High Republic #1, which I can see this going to be very confusing. I guess this will be High Republic #1 2021. This is
2022.
It is 2022. So
you were getting
High
confused
Republic
already.
2022. This is the phase 2, so it'll be set in the past from the current High Republic timeline. It has the same creative team of Sol and Ario, so that's amazing. We love their work before. This one will
friend of the show, Ario and Dito.
Right. Exactly. This series will actually be starting on the planet of Jeddah, which looks like it will be mentioned in a couple other shows, but you know, we saw that getting destroyed in Solo, so we get to see, you know, who these guardian at the wheels are, seeing the kind of foundation of the Jedi here. That will be coming October, November-ish, so here pretty soon in the next like 6-ish months, I think.
I'm
Next
so hyped
up,
for that, honestly.
it's like after like we'll be doing the roundtable for volume 3 of the High Republic soon, so it'll get us real excited for that to see what comes next. Another thing that's coming is the High Republic, The Blade. This is the Porter Ingle comics. So, when they first introduced Porter Ingle as like a character who has like a 200-year past, now that we'll be able to see him in his prime. This is written by Charles Soule with art by Marco Castellino. It's a mini series, so it's probably going to be about 5-6 issues. I don't think they said. A tagline is that it's a tragedy, but a really cool one. So like we know that he's going kind of like the Obi-Wan series. We know that Porter Ingle's going to survive this, but I'm not like pretty much every other named character I'm assuming they'll introduce is probably due for the chopping block. So it's going to be really cool. We'll establish the origin of the bearish vow. So I think we got some really cool stuff here. Like between like this will be the second one that Soule's working on in the High Republic. That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the one I'm
Eric,
most excited for.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember. I think I saw you tweet earlier today, Steven, that this was the one that you were most excited about. So tell me why you're excited about this title.
Yeah, I'm hyped for this one just because I loved Light of the Jedi. It was for everything it is. It's probably it's in my top 3 favorite Star Wars books. And getting to that section of Porter, I was just like, I want to know more about this guy. He's so fascinating. He's just such an interesting character. And to have, even my wife recently just read Light of the Jedi for the first time, and she loved that whole sequence of Porter. And what is it? Doesn't he make soup? Isn't that his thing?
Eggs.
He's like a cook.
So
6 egg soup, 7 egg soup.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's known, when we meet him in Light of the Jedi, he's known as the Blade of Bardata. However, given the name of this book and giving the little bit of information that we were given, that this story takes place before he earns that name. I have a feeling we're going to see why he's earned that name. And as Eric has put in the chat, Michael Seglain said that, quote, "This is the most epic story we've told so far."
Wow,
so
that's cool.
This is has a lot of hype
now
for High Republic fans.
Now, when it says epic, maybe he means like Trojan War epic, and it's all in meter and rhyme.
That's possible. Yes, that's a possibility. So
maybe.
All right, Steven, we had a couple of other updates for our current run of titles. So why don't you want to give us a little bit of information that we received for the major titles, and by major titles I mean Afra, Star Wars Mainline, Bounty Hunters, and
Obi-Wan
and Darth Vader.
Yeah, I'll actually kick that over to Caleb to kick that one off.
Oh yeah. Well, as I said, the first one that we have listed up here, I don't know if we have the image for it, but Star Wars number 25 is very important. It'll be Charles Soule's 100th comic script. It'll be an anthology with several more of his previous titles. The Poe Dameron, which will be interesting. The Rise of Kylo Ren, which I think will be really fun because we might get some more Kylo Ren lore. And then the Obi-Wan and Anakin one, which, I feel like not enough people talk about it, despite how amazing it was. Plus, if you haven't, it's recent. I think it might just recently been dropped today. There's a really amazing cover they dropped for it, where essentially they have like 100, like dozens upon dozens of characters. Oh, I think I see Emma working.
I'm working on.
I see the sweat coming. But it's essentially a lore for our audio listeners. This won't do you any good, but it's essentially a massive collaboration with maybe 40-50 characters, of all of which he's kind of touched on throughout his works. There it is. Yeah,
I love that cover.
It's
so
like
good.
I want that as a poster. You got everyone from Poe and Rey to Vader to the Darth Morton, Jabba the Hutt. It has everyone there, and front and center, of course, is Lando there. His best work.
He did mention in that panel that he really enjoyed working on that series, and I thought of you, Caleb.
Thank you. Good.
And he mentioned that he reached out. So this art is created by Steve McNiven, and Charles Soule had told a story that he had reached out to Steve to do a cover, featuring a handful, like a couple of different covers featuring some of the characters that he has written over the years. And by the time McNiven got back in touch with Charles Soule, he's like, so what if we just created one cover with all of your characters on it? And this is, and again, if you see, I don't know if you can read it up in the top right corner, it does say the cover's not final. So I don't necessarily know if this is exactly what the cover is going to look like, but I think this is the inspiration that we're going to see. So it's a really, really interesting cover that features all of Charles Soule's amazing work.
And I do remember them saying that it was going to be sold as like a virgin cover. So, kind of like this, none of the, barcodes or information or anything like that on the front. And also just a quick note I haven't mentioned before. Sorry, these images are so bad. These are actual images that were taken like at the panel. We were lucky enough. Timothy scored us front row seats, so we were able to get like better images than not. So if you're wondering, like, wow, these images suck, that's why.
So don't blame Timothy because he got this like before, and we held on to it, so we didn't leak it. Also, shout out to Timothy. Hope your California trip is going great.
Yes, Timothy was the absolute MVP of my Star Wars Celebration. At least he and I hung out like so much. Tim, I love you. Can't wait to have you back on the show soon here.
So they talked about, like, they did talk about those other 4 main books: Vader, Aphra, Bounty Hunters, and Mainline. There isn't too much to spoil about them or to talk about them, other than they gave a little bit of insight. We don't need to go into it too much. If you're really interested in the literal like elevator pitch of what they gave, you can head over to our Twitter handle at Cosmic Force Show to see the tweets from that show. But they gave us some covers. They gave a couple of inside panel pieces of information, but the real focus was on what's actually coming up in these next couple of books. And they did spend a little bit of time, Stephen, talking about what the Obi-Wan comic is, the themes of the next few Obi-Wan comics coming out.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan comic is going to be super cool. It's I think it's going to be 5 different issues.
Yes.
So with the second issue of it, it's going to be kind of a haunted house story, which I'm a big horror fan. And so hearing a haunted house story with Obi-Wan is a super cool idea. I'm down with that. The third one is supposed to be more of a war story. And then the fourth one, which I think is pretty cool, it's more about like the cost of war. And then the fifth one,
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. I mean, especially when you have I like movies like The Thin Red Line, and then documentaries like The Fog of War, which kind of address on those certain topics. And so I don't know, it'd be cool to see if it pulls from those sort of tropes. But the fifth one of it, though, it kind of returns back to the Western roots that we've seen in things like The Mandalorian and even in A New Hope. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait for these.
Then we touched on very, very quickly the Han and Chewie book. Emma, was there any takeaways from this one that you remember?
Yeah, so I do remember that specifically about the covers. The covers for issues 3 and 4 feature the archivist from like Crimson Reign, and at first I was like, is that a person? Is that like the Emperor? And they're like, oh, that's the archivist. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And number 4 features Black Chrysanthemum, which is super exciting, because anything Black Chrysanthemum these days gets me super excited. So, and then of course, even though this is a different timeline than what's happening in in the main line and in Dr. Aphra and Bounty Hunters and Darth Vader, there will be like payoffs from this comic that show up in the main line in terms of like themes and sort of things that are going to be set up in this. So, it's important to read it, I would say, even if you're not, even if you're only trying to focus on the timeline that's occurring in the main line right now, just because it sounds like there's going to be some hints at what's happening later, which is super cool.
Cool.
So at this point, we were about halfway through the panel, right, Emma? And then they dropped some big news on us. And that big news started with a brand new title titled Star Wars Yoda.
Oh, really?
The OG little green alien, is actually going to get his very own comic series. It's going to be split into 3 arcs over 10 issues. So the first arc is going to be written by the team of, or is going to be written by Kevin Scott, teamed up with Nico Leone for the interior art. The second of the 3 sets is going to be written by Jody Hauser, art by Luke Ross, and the third arc is going to be written by Mark Guggenheim with art by Alessandro Mircola. And all the covers are written by Phil Noto, but then it is a 10-issue arc. So all 3 of those little mini series, little mini arcs within the title will have its own theme and will focus on the prequel era and a lesson that Yoda has learned throughout his life. And then each of those 3 little mini arcs will culminate in issue 10 with a coming. It all comes together. I can't remember exactly the words that they said, but it all has a very, very dramatic climax in the 10th issue.
So
Yeah, this was
cool.
super exciting, and I love the idea of doing the whole like trilogy of trilogies thing, because
Yes.
that's a very
Yeah.
Star Wars idea. And I'm also, I also want to say, like, it's about time that Yoda got his own comic. I mean, Darth Vader has like a bunch of his own, and I think it's about time that we got some more Yoda centric not only comics, but I'd love a book too. That'd be super cool. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for this one.
And then
And so
something that
there's
we
this-
go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so a section of it takes place in the High Republic, but what part of the High Republic though?
That's a great question.
All they said was that we will see Yoda at his youngest age ever.
Wow,
That was the
So-
only hint that they gave us about
It could
what
be
is being
like-
covered.
It could be phase 2, or it could be like earlier than phase 2. I don't know.
interesting. Have we gotten a Yoda? I mean, in Legends or even during now canon, has there ever been a Yoda comic before?
No, I don't think there's anything.
Comic? No, there was a novel. There was a Legends novel called Yoda Dark Rendezvous that
Yeah, I remember
focused
that.
on him and Dooku, but never.
Oh, okay. Just when he said Yoda Dark Rendezvous sounds like something that young Yoda would be doing. Like Justin in the chat just put it in my thing, like man bun Yoda with a big, poofy bun, like
So-
Yes.
tattoos.
Well,
It's
actually,
funny that you it's funny that you mentioned Man Bun Yoda.
Yes. So at the High Republic panel, they were discussing the I believe it was like the Art of book for the High Republic that's coming out soon, and they showed the Yoda spread. There was Top Knot Yoda.
There was
Ooh,
Top Knot Yoda.
There was a Top
It
Knot
was
Yoda.
wild.
Yes.
Everybody's like, "Wait, is Yoda hot?"
So, and then there was the other kind of big announcement. This is kind of something we already knew about. Is they featured Rodney Barnes for the upcoming Mandalorian the comic adaptation. And they said that the pre-orders for this are already in the hundreds of thousands, and it's already, before issue 1 has even come out, it is already a best-selling comic for 2022.
So exciting.
Oh
That's
wow.
insane.
And he says, and there's a quote here that says, it's Ronnie Barnes, who is the writer. It's the easiest gig I've ever had and the toughest at the same time. The easy part is having an existing story to work from, but pacing and plotting an episode of the series into one book is a challenge. So clearly we were all excited for this.
Yeah, I was so interested hearing him talk about it. He was on I believe it was the publishing panel as well. It might have been the nonfiction panel. I can't remember. But he was on another one discussing this comic, and I could listen to him talk about adapting the series into a comic book all day. It was super interesting because, it all makes sense. Like, of course, it's easy. Like, you've got the story lined out for you, but then, like he said, you've only got 30 pages to do an episode in, and that can be really tough, especially with a story like The Mandalorian. So I really can't wait to see like what he's done with it. I know that adaptations aren't always like the most exciting thing for hardcore comics fans like us, but I think this is a little bit of a different one for me in terms of just seeing how it's done. And I'm sure the art is going to be absolutely stunning with a character like the Mandalorian and of course like Grogu. So and hearing the numbers on that as well, in terms of the pre-orders, it's very exciting for the future of Star Wars comics.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. If
Okay.
you can still order extra issues of issue number 1. I would highly recommend
Yes,
you do
do
that.
it.
Does anybody know? Does anybody know why?
I know why. It's the first appearance of the Mandalorian in comics.
You're half right.
Oh.
You're
Half
half
right.
right, Steven. I think that you're is there's somebody else who is a very big merchandise
Oh.
hog.
IG-11.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. No, this will be the first
Grogu.
ever comic appearance of Grogu. And if it sells like anything else, like all the other merchandise, look,
All
we
right, I
love
gotta
Grogu.
pre-order it after
We're
this show. Then
We're just a little overwhelmed with all of the Grogu merch.
Is there a lot of Grogu merch out there?
I don't know. I haven't been to the store recently.
Couple things.
Just a few. Yeah.
Yeah, just a few.
Because he's such a small character, small.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
see, I like
exactly.
that. I like that. The last announcement that they made is they left this very vague, and I made it even vaguer because I didn't remember the exact details about it. They did announce a Star Wars Vision themed project. They didn't want to go into any more details about it. They said that they saw the success of the show. I believe, I do not remember the word manga being mentioned. However, I cannot confirm that. I cannot say that with certainty, whether it's a manga or whether it's a comic. So that's why we're saying it is a Visions themed project that they have announced.
I
I feel
can't
like
quite
a
remember
manga
either.
would make. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't. Now that you're like saying that, and I'm starting to remember, I feel like that word was like tossed around, but I also kind of feel like, kind of based on like the new Visions announcement. They're going to do more Visions, but they're doing it from like different areas of the world, and they showed a map. I saw it on Twitter. Part of me feels like they might do kind of like a mix of genres, like some manga and some inspired from other different art styles, but. Yeah, I can't say to be sure. This was like the very last thing they said, and I was like,
and it was one panel.
Out. Yes,
it was one slide. Like it was
That's
one
right.
slide, and it had the Star Wars Visions logo on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
No more details. No details of who's working on it. I don't even remember if they said. And if you're in the chat and there's more information out there, then feel free to include it. I don't even think they said like a release date. It was literally just we're working on this.
Interesting.
They were
The
very.
rumor-
It seems very early in the early stages of like planning and development.
Yeah. The rumor that I had heard about Visions season 2 was that they were actually going to go with a French studio for it rather than a Japanese studio. Similar to it's not the same studio, but in the same vein of, I don't know if you guys have watched Arcane on Netflix, but that's done by a French animation studio. If you haven't watched Arcane, 10 out of 10 recommend. It is so good. But it's done by a French animation studio, and apparently, anyway, that's just a rumor right now. No idea if it's true, but could be cool though.
Interesting.
So those were all the pieces of news from the Marvel panel. However, Caleb, there was additional comics.
There's almost like some sort of unknown third party, some sort of dark horse into running.
I like it. I support your dad joke there.
Exactly. So yes, Dark Horse is now back. It is here, and it was at Celebration, and they dropped some news. Like, this is exciting news. It almost does feel like they're continuing on the torch from IDW, but essentially they've announced that 2 new projects, Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, which will launch here in August, which is here pretty soon, is a 12-issue all ages anthology series from Dark Horse, with writers including Amanda Dilbert, Cecil Castellucci, and Michael Morici, and there'll be a continuous story told in the backups and kind of the B comics there. Again, very similar to what we saw with the first one.
Yeah, this very
IDW series.
Yeah,
Star Wars
very
Adventures.
very Star Wars Adventures-esque with the was it like Tales from the
just Star Wars Adventures.
Yeah, they had like a sub thing, Tyler, you know
Tales
what I'm
from
talking
hyperspace.
About, right? Tales from like hyperspace or something
Outer
like
space,
that.
something like that.
Yeah, there was something like that, but it was like a sub story, and it had that guy and the. I swear,
It's a very great description.
I've read these comics before. I swear.
It's a story with a guy, and
he's got a droid. They're in a starship. It's very Star Warsy. But anyways, yeah, like it's a a story that like ties the other stories together, and I'm glad that they're keeping it the same vein. Because I really enjoyed those, and I thought they were great for kids too. And I think it's important that we still have something that's good for kids.
All right, and then Steven, there was one additional Dark Horse announcement. You want to share what that was before we get out of here?
Yeah. The last one is called Tales from the Rancor Pit, which is such a cool title. Similar to the Vader's Castle from IDW, kind of in the vein of something like that. And our friend from the High Republic, Kevin Scott, he's going to be writing that one. And
I wonder how many people are dying.
Like it was
Everyone.
like maybe not too many, maybe just like well, we did already have like one of those horror stories take place in Jabba's palace with the brains in a jar, so maybe not dying, just having your brains in a jar.
Yeah,
if Kevin's writing it, there's a high chance of somebody dying.
There's a high probability of death involved.
Yeah, I love that they let him do the horror thing, because you said a lot that horror is his favorite genre, and I'm so happy that they let him just run with it.
Oh, it's so cool. And it isn't so this comic, it's not going to focus on Ty Yorick, but Ty Yorick's going to make an appearance though, right?
Yep, that's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah, which is super interesting, because we got her miniseries. It was supposed to be a graphic novel, Monster of Temple Peak.
Yes.
And then we kind of, we saw her a little bit in Race to Crash Point Tower and The Rising Storm simultaneously, and then that was kind of it from her. So, and I thought she was a super interesting character, so I'm really excited to see her come back. And I can kind of tell that, there's some characters of the High Republic you can kind of tell are, like, they kind of, quote unquote, belong to certain authors, right? Like, you can kind of tell that Vernestra Rowe belongs to Justina Ireland, and you can kind of tell that, like the crew of the vessel kind of belonged to Claudia Gray, but you can kind of tell that like Ty Yorick is Cav's character, and so I'm glad that he gets a chance to continue her story.
Yeah, I for one would love more. I want more Ty Yorick content, and I want more Orla Jareni.
Yes.
Like I need more.
Orla, we love Orla. Orla is such an underrated character, let me tell you.
Orla is one of my favorite characters of Phase 1 of the High Republic.
She's
so cool.
mysterious and cool. I want to know, like, what happened to her, like, early on. She's got it. She's seen a lot of stuff, man. Like,
but
you
the
don't just become a
concept
Wayseeker just out of nowhere.
But that, like, the concept of a Wayseeker was that was one of my favorite introductions of the High Republic. I'm hoping we get more Wayseeker content down the road. I mean, because it's basically like what Ahsoka essentially becomes is basically a Wayseeker.
You could say,
what YouTubers call Gray Jedi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So that's pretty much all of the news the major news that came out of it. So before we start talking about next week's show, let me go around the room and give everybody one chance to say what they are most excited for. And I'm going to start with our special guest tonight, Steven. What book are you most excited for?
What book or what comic am I most excited for?
What comic title out of all that we've covered tonight that I know you said earlier that it was the Blade of Bardana, but now that we've gone through all of them, is it still the Blade, or is it potentially something else?
I'm probably gonna have to go with the Blade. That's probably the one I'm most excited for, although the Yoda comic is probably a close second, primarily because it's something I did not anticipate. I didn't anticipate there being a Yoda comic ever, because he's just such a mysterious character. So, but that being said, I'm probably gonna have to go with the Blade. Porter Engle is just such a cool character. I need more.
All right. Caleb, coming to you next. What is the book that you are most excited about?
The one I most want to read would be High Republic #1 2022, because I can't wait for this new era. I want to see what the themes that they're going to be doing in this story. I want to see the characters that they're going to introduce. I'm excited for this new phase here of the High Republic. So I want to see High Republic #1, 2, essentially. I want
Okay.
another great start here. And we've already established this team and they can knock it out of the park issue after issue. So I'm excited.
All right, Emma, what coming to you? What book here is most exciting to you?
Yeah, I think it has to be The Blade.
Yeah.
Just hearing Michael Siglain talk about it, saying that it was like the craziest thing that they've done, I was like, ooh, you don't just say that about anything. There's been a lot of wild stuff happening in the High Republic. It's kind of giving me like Trail of Shadows vibes, and that it seems like it's going to be really important to the phase. So I feel like The Blade is going to be this phase's like Trail of Shadows, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure.
Just in its importance, but I'm also really looking forward to the Yoda thing, which I was pretty shocked about. I like Yoda. Everybody likes Yoda, of course, but I've never been like, oh, Yoda. But just the trilogy of trilogies thing has me intrigued, and I'm really excited to see how they pull that off. So I think The Blade with Yoda as a close second.
Yeah, for me, I think it would definitely be Yoda as well for all the reasons that you already gave. But the one that we haven't mentioned that kind of caught my eye is definitely the Obi-Wan comic. Issue number 1 was good. It didn't really like knock my socks off, but hearing that issue 3 is going to be a war story and issue 4 is going to be a story about the cost of war, and I can't remember in one of those two, I can't remember which one. For some reason, I'm thinking it's issue 4. Is really focusing on his relationship with Anakin. That was the other part of the panel where I was like, okay, that now you have my attention. So being able to see that, and I mean that's, I love that relationship, and as much as we've gotten a whole animated series about it, we're getting a whole live action series about that relationship. I still want more. Like it still hasn't gone stale yet. So if we can get more good stories about that relationship, then that's something that I'm really excited about seeing. So we had somebody, Justin in the chat did say that for him it was the Marvel 2022 High Republic series. So if you have to why don't you go ahead and tweet us if for what books you are most excited about, and then we might discuss that later on next week. And that is going to do it for this week. Before we get out of here, Emma, why don't you go ahead and give our viewers a sneak peek about what's to come on next week's show, for both us and for our sister shows.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week for us, it's going to be a really, really fun show. We've got our roundtable on the High Republic Volume 3, which I'm very much looking forward to. That was quite the ending to the series there. Or I guess this part of the series. And then tomorrow on Legends Look Back, when I read this on the calendar, I'm just so excited. It's called Bonus. Trev does Star Wars Celebration. I can't wait for that. That sounds awesome. If it's anything like how Trev was like in person, it's gonna be so much fun to watch. So I'm very much looking forward to that. That just continues on our Star Wars Celebration coverage. And speaking of Star Wars Celebration, Monday on the Living Force, they are doing Celebration Part 2 because they only got through the first day of Star Wars Celebration, I think.
Jeez.
Wow.
So,
Well, Corey was moving, and
Yes.
yeah, there was a lot going on.
yes, and I mean, there's a lot to talk about too. I mean, we spent an entire episode just talking about like just the comic stuff.
Yeah,
they're
that's true.
covering like movies, TV shows, books. Maybe they're touching a tiny bit on the comics, though I doubt it because for time reasons. I mean, and then talk about like all of the stuff that happened on the live stage. Like, I mean, there's so much that happened. We barely touched the surface in this, and I have to say that we'll definitely let you know when our panel goes up on YouTube. I'll definitely let all the shows know about it so that we can talk about it and maybe tweet out a link as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'll be working on that as soon as I get all the footage in. And then I'll also be working on a vlog from Celebration. I'm not 100% sure yet if that's going to be a Patreon exclusive or not. But I will let you know when I know more about that. That's going to take quite a while to put together because, I started getting some footage in our Google Drive, and we've got a lot of stuff, but that's good. It's good. So yeah, I can't wait for everybody to see more. Just the few pictures that I showed, again, like only a tiny percentage of the content that we have for you guys. So, yeah, I had such a refreshing weekend, and it was just I mean, not refreshing like energy wise. I mean, I am drained, but like it was just, it was like healing in a way, like in terms of, you know, Star Wars energy. Like I'm just so excited for everything that's coming. Not even just the books and comics. Like there's just so much awesome stuff happening, and I love meeting everybody, and I could get all sappy about it, but it was great, and I'm looking forward to hopefully doing it again sometime, even though I won't be able to go to London, which I'm a tiny bit salty about because they had to make the dates like during my last couple weeks of college, like period. So I'm like, oh, can't miss that. Oops. But anyways, it'll happen again someday, and I can't wait for that day because this was an absolute blast.
Yes, Star Wars Celebration 2022 might be over, but there's plenty of content, plenty to discuss. So there will, whether it's the Living Force, whether it's us, there's going to be plenty more to talk about. So make sure you tune in live to all of our shows. But until then, that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube, where you can hear us live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We also encourage you to subscribe to our audio version on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on Twitter and tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show to stay informed about all the Star Wars comics happenings, or you can follow the host individually. I'm at Ty Rags, Emma is at Irma Jedi 26, Caleb is at Caleb Lamanek, and Steven is at Steven Z Smith 88. For reviews, articles, and news for the rest of the expanded universe, be sure to visit youtini.com. And we also encourage you to join our Youtini Discord community by going to youtini.com/discord. And you can also help support the show by heading to patreon.com/youtini to start receiving exclusive perks starting at just $5 a month. A special thank you to OK Endar, Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as Elizabeth Cloutier, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing continued support. Special thanks to Steven for filling in tonight. Thanks again to Emma and Caleb for hosting with me. Thank you to everybody that joined us live. And a special thank you to our listeners for joining us wherever and whenever you are listening. We truly appreciate you. We hope to see everybody next week. But until then, may the Force be with you.